A man on the north shore of Louisiana was cleaning a turtle he'd caught for the pot when he found a human finger inside it. Not a fish, not a hook, a finger. He called the sheriff who ran the case, contacted hospitals, tried to lift a print. Nobody could ever say whose it had been. The animal that swallowed it is the largest freshwater turtle in North America. A spiked, prehistoric thing with a beak built to shear through bone. And the horror in its gut looks like proof of a man-eater. Almost everything about that idea is wrong. Start with what it looks like, because the reputation is doing a lot of work here. The alligator snapping turtle is the heaviest freshwater turtle on the continent. A big male can push past 175 pounds, and the largest can top 200. Its shell rises in 3 jagged ridges of bone, more like the back of a small dinosaur than anything you'd expect in a river. The head is huge and can't pull back into the shell. The jaws end in a hooked beak, and the whole animal sits on the bottom, looking like it wandered out of the wrong geological period. It ranges across the rivers of the Deep South, from the Florida Panhandle west into Texas and up the Mississippi system. And the lineage it belongs to is genuinely ancient. Turtles of this kind have sat on river bottoms for tens of millions of years, long enough that calling it prehistoric is barely a figure of speech. People say the bite runs to 1,000 pounds per square inch, that it can take a hand clean off, that it's the closest thing a southern river has to a monster. Most of that is inflated. The real bite has been measured, and while it's strong enough to crush and to badly injure a careless hand, it's nowhere near the numbers that get passed around online, and it isn't even the hardest bite among snapping turtles. The reputation ran ahead of the evidence a long time ago. But the reason people believe it is simple. This animal looks like it kills for a living. So the first surprise is that it barely moves. Watch one hunt and you'll wait a long time for anything to happen. It doesn't chase. It settles onto the river floor, opens its jaws wide, and holds them open. Inside its mouth sits one of the strangest tools in the animal world. A small, pink, worm-shaped piece of tissue on the floor of its tongue. When a fish comes near, the turtle makes that little lure twitch, and it looks exactly like a live worm wriggling in the dark. A fish swims in to take the bait, and the jaws close. That's the hunt. No pursuit, no struggle, no violence you could film from a distance. Just a mouth that waits. Very few animals carry their bait inside their own body. That lure is a piece of the tongue that has come to look and move like prey. And it works because it costs a fish almost nothing to investigate a worm, and costs the turtle almost nothing to wiggle one. But a body specialized to sit and tempt is a body that has given up on chasing. Everything about the animal, the low metabolism, the algae-cloaked shell, the long breath hold, is an investment in stillness. The lure is the clearest sign of what this predator really is. Not a pursuer, but a trap that grew a beak. And it can wait. This is a low-energy animal built for patience, able to stay under for 40 to 50 minutes at a stretch, sitting so still that algae grows on its shell and it fades into the bottom. It isn't built to run prey down. It's built to be a place where prey makes a mistake. There's a second mode, and it matters for what ends up inside. On some nights, the turtle gives up the ambush and walks the bottom in the dark, nosing along the mud as a slow forager, taking what it finds rather than what it lures. Between the two, the daytime trap and the nighttime patrol, almost nothing edible on that river floor goes unsampled, and almost nothing it swallows ever required a real chase. Either way, the animal spends as little as it can, Either way, its stomach fills with the river's inventory rather than the spoils of a hunt. That changes the whole question. Because if the animal barely moves, then the things inside it aren't a highlight reel of kills. They're something closer to a record, an inventory of whatever swam into that open mouth, or drifted down to the bottom where it sat, or got swallowed off the mud on a slow night of foraging. The stomach of an alligator snapping turtle isn't a trophy case. It's an archive. And once you start reading it that way, the contents get stranger and more disturbing than any man-eater story. Start with the obvious entry, the one that fits the legend. Fish are the staple, and this is where the crushing beak earns its keep. But look at what shows up next to the fish, and the tidy picture of a fish trap falls apart. Turtles, other turtles, in enormous numbers. In one study of stomach contents from Louisiana, researchers found the remains of other turtles inside close to 80% of the animals they examined. Not as a rare event, as a defining feature of the diet. The alligator snapping turtle is, among other things, a turtle that eats turtles. It's especially fond of small musk turtles, and it can apparently pick them out by scent, homing in on the chemical trace they leave in the water. And when it catches one, that famous beak finally makes sense, not as a tool for taking off human hands, but as a shell cracker, a device for biting through the armor of another turtle to get at what's inside. Keepers who have watched a large captive snapper work through musk turtles describe the sound of it, a slow, wet cracking as the beak splits one shell after another. The turtle doesn't rush, it processes. And the fact that it can track its favorite prey by chemistry alone, following a scent through water where it can barely see, tells you what its senses are tuned for. Not spotting a swimmer overhead, but finding another turtle hiding on the bottom. Sit with that for a second, because it includes the thing people least want to picture. This animal eats its own kind. Cannibalism isn't an accident or a captive quirk here, it's part of how the species lives. A big snapper will crack and swallow a smaller turtle, and sometimes that smaller turtle is another snapping turtle. The monster's most reliable meal is a reptile wearing the same armor it does. And it isn't a footnote in the diet. In the places where it's been studied closely, other turtles show up so consistently inside these animals that biologists treat the alligator snapping turtle as a real predator of turtles, a shaping force on the smaller species that share its water. Picture a river where the largest resident spends its life quietly removing the other turtles, one shell at a time. And you're closer to the real animal than any man-eater story ever got. Keep reading the archive and it gets worse in a quieter way. Inside these turtles, researchers and hunters have found the remains of snakes, including cottonmouths, the venomous water moccasins that most animals in a southern river are desperate to avoid. It eats them anyway. It takes crayfish and freshwater mussels, prying and crushing. It swallows wood ducks off the surface. It has been recorded eating small mammals and even young alligators. And a lot of what it eats, it never killed at all. The alligator snapping turtle is an active scavenger. It feeds on carrion, on the already dead things that settle to the bottom of a river, the drowned and the rotting that everything else has left behind. Its gut is where a lot of the river's dead quietly end up. It's worth being blunt about what that means. In a southern river, a lot of things die. Fish, birds, mammals, other reptiles, and a lot of them sink. An animal that patrols the bottom and eats the dead is going to end up with pieces of all of them inside it. The alligator snapping turtle is, among its other jobs, an underwater undertaker. Most of the time that work is invisible. Every so often it isn't. Then there's the entry nobody expects from a so-called apex predator. Acorns, wild grapes, palmetto berries. Fruit and nuts that fall off the trees along the bank and land in the water get swallowed too. This bone-crushing horror of the swamp spends part of its life essentially grazing on whatever drops in. A predator, yes, but also a scavenger. And also, when it's convenient, something close to a forager picking fallen fruit off the surface of the water. None of this looks like hunting. That's the point that keeps building. A fish chaser doesn't fill its stomach with other turtles, venomous snakes, carrion, and acorns. A patient-sitting animal that swallows whatever comes within reach of its jaws does exactly that. The stomach contents aren't evidence of a killer on a rampage. They're evidence of a strategy. Stay still, spend almost nothing, and eat whatever the river delivers. Alive, dead, armored, venomous, or fallen from a tree. And here is where the archive turns from strange to genuinely disturbing, because in the last century, the river started delivering something new. Cut one of these turtles open today, and there's a real chance you'll find fishing hooks. Not one freak case, a pattern. When scientists X-rayed hundreds of freshwater turtles across 5 rivers in the southeastern United States, they found ingested fish hooks lodged inside a meaningful fraction of them. In some samples of snapping turtles, roughly a third of the animals had swallowed hooks, J-hooks and circle hooks sitting in the esophagus and deeper in the body, sometimes more than one, sometimes tangled with line. A baited hook to an animal that makes its living luring things into an open mouth is almost a perfect trap in reverse. The turtles spent millions of years evolving to swallow whatever looks edible off the bottom, and a hook baited with cutfish looks exactly like a meal. The same indiscriminate, patient swallow that let this animal survive since the age of the dinosaurs is now the thing that fills it with metal. The details make it worse. Some turtles turn up with more than one hook inside them, and one animal that was caught, treated, and released was later recaptured with a fresh hook already swallowed on top of the old injury. Circle hooks, designed to catch in the jaw and cause less harm, and J-hooks, designed to be swallowed whole, both end up buried deep in turtles that simply took the bait meant for a fish. Every hook is a small record of a moment someone cast a line into this animal's water, and the turtle did the one thing it knows how to do with anything that smells like food. And a hook inside a turtle is not a harmless souvenir. It can tear the gut, drive infection, anchor a length of line that binds the digestive tract, and kill the animal slowly from the inside. The disturbing thing found inside an alligator snapping turtle, more and more often, is us, our tackle, our fishing line, our carelessness, collecting in the stomach of an animal that can't tell the difference between prey and bait. That vulnerability runs deeper than hooks. This is a slow animal in every sense. It takes more than a decade, often 11 to 13 years, to reach breeding age. It lives a long time, by some estimates most of a century, though those oldest ages are more folklore than measurement. It can't move fast, it can't dodge a trap, and for generations it was hunted hard for its meat, the main ingredient in old-fashioned turtle soup. An animal that survives by sitting still and reproducing slowly is exactly the wrong animal to meet commercial harvest and a river full of fishing line. Populations dropped. Louisiana banned commercial harvest of the species in 2004, and federal wildlife officials have moved toward listing it for protection. What predators and venom and even cannibalism never managed to do to this lineage, a few decades of hooks, nets, and soup pots very nearly did. This is the quiet arithmetic that undoes long-lived animals. A species that waits more than a decade to breed, and then breeds slowly, has no quick way to replace what gets taken. Remove the big adults faster than the young can grow up behind them, and the collapse never announces itself. It just means fewer turtles every year, until a river that used to hold them holds almost none. This creature outlasted the dinosaurs by being patient. Patience is no defense at all against a harvest that doesn't wait. Which brings us back to the finger. Because the finger is where the man-eater story wants to end, and the evidence won't let it. That turtle in Louisiana had a human finger in its gut. And the sheriff's investigators did the work. They searched the area with a dog, they contacted hospitals, they tried to pull a print. They never identified it. They never established that the turtle killed anyone. Because there's no reason to think it did. There are no verified records of an alligator snapping turtle killing a person. What there is an animal that scavenges the dead, that swallows whatever settles to the bottom of the river, and that lives in exactly the kind of water where a body or a piece of one can end up. The most likely story isn't a monster hunting a human. It's a scavenger doing what scavengers do to remains that were already in the water. The finger wasn't a kill. It was one more thing the river delivered to a waiting mouth. And there's a grim symmetry the headlines skipped past. The finger didn't surface because a turtle attacked a person. It surfaced because a person was about to eat the turtle. Think too about what hunting a human would actually demand of this body. It can't run anyone down. It can barely cross the bottom of its own river at speed. Its entire method depends on prey coming to it and being small enough to fit inside a mouth. A person is neither. When these turtles injure people, it's almost always defensive. A hand brought too close to a cornered animal hauled onto land. A snap that's a warning rather than a hunt. The lunge that looks like aggression is the same fast, short strike it uses on a fish that swam into range. Stretch that motion to cover a swimmer in open water and the story just falls apart. And that's the reframe the whole animal has been building toward. The disturbing stuff inside an alligator snapping turtle isn't a list of victims. It's a mirror. The gut holds its own kind, because it cracks turtles for a living. It holds the venomous snakes everything else flees. It holds carrion, the river's quiet dead. It holds acorns and grapes off the trees. It holds our hooks and our line. And once, that we know of, it held a piece of a person nobody could name. Every one of those things tells you not what the turtle chose to attack, but what came within reach of an animal that almost never moves and almost never turns down a meal. That's what actually makes the collection disturbing. And it isn't the gore, it's the honesty of it. Most predators leave you guessing about their lives. This one keeps the receipts. Open one up and you can read, in a single stomach, the entire shape of how it survives. The turtles it cracks, the venom it ignores, the fruit it grazes, the dead it clears away, the mistakes we drop into its water. Nothing in there is a boast. Everything in there is just what happened to drift within reach of a patient animal that never learned to be choosy. The horror people expect from a monster is intent, some dark appetite aimed at us. The horror this one actually offers is the opposite. There's no intent at all. There's an open mouth, a twitching lure, and a river that keeps feeding it whatever the current happens to carry. So what was the beak really for, if not for us? Cracking turtles. The 80% explains itself. The hooked jaw evolved to bite through shell, and the animals it was shaped to kill wear the same armor it does. The tongue lure? A way to eat without spending energy. a cheat for an ambush sitter that can't afford a chase. The scavenging, the acorns, the snakes. The behavior of an opportunist that treats the whole river bottom as a slow buffet. The killer reputation gets one thing right. The bite is real. The fish are real prey. The crushing power is not imaginary. What it gets wrong is almost everything about intent. This isn't an animal that runs down large, dangerous things. It's an animal that waits and swallows and lets the current bring the rest. The truly unsettling discovery, in the end, isn't any single object pulled out of a stomach. It's what the collection means. For tens of millions of years, this creature has sat on the bottom of North American rivers, with its mouth open, quietly taking in whatever drifts past. And its gut has always been an honest record of that water. Read that record now, and you find more and more of ourselves in it. Our fishing tackle, our discarded line, our dead. The alligator snapping turtle never came looking for us. It didn't have to. It just kept doing the one thing it has always done, holding still with its jaws open, letting the pink worm on its tongue twitch in the dark, waiting for the river to deliver whatever comes next.